Alright, this is John Colo with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're doing another whiteboard episode here in the garden, and a very important episode to me that actually touches my heart. The topic of this episode today is, this is what makes the raw vegan diet dangerous. Yes, the raw vegan diet can be dangerous, can be bad to your health if done improperly. Well, yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that I want to discuss regarding that, but that's what we're going to get into in this episode. So the first thing I want to give you guys a disclaimer. Number one, if you guys have any kind of medical issues, medical challenges, go see a qualified medical practitioner. I think it is quite unfortunate in some camps in the raw vegan community that, they're going to avoid medical doctors. I think medical doctors can be great if you get in a car accident, when they're really good at diagnosing situations, to find out what is going on and to basically just avoid doctors to think that they're bad. That's not entirely right, and we're going to talk about these kind of thinking a little bit later on. Anyways, next off, I want to talk about my story. So my story is I got into a raw vegan diet in 1995, which is now 28 years ago as this video is being filmed, and the reason for that is because I had failing health. I was hospitalized and almost lost my life while on a standard American diet, right? Standard American diets kill a lot of people, and unfortunately it is not talked about unless you're Dr. Michael Greger, who wrote a book, How Not to Die, and the book is How Not to Die from, the standard American diet, which is by going on a plant-based diet, which will significantly lessen your risks of losing your life because of an unhealthy way of eating that most people eat. So anyways, the story is I was hospitalized and the doctor said I might not make it out of the hospital alive due to a failing immune system, due to complement immune deficiency and getting spinal meningitis. I can only say through higher powers I am here today, and that's what really motivated me to find the best diet to preserve my life, preserve my health, because I almost lost it on a standard American diet and having a weak immune system, according to the doctors that I believe have rebuilt and am still rebuilding today. So that is my driving factor to be on a raw vegan diet, is to build my health so that I'm not back in the hospital again. And, these days, while you may think, oh man, it's almost terrible to almost lose your life. To me, I look back at that situation, and that's one of the best things that ever happened to me, is that I almost lost my life when I was young, because it set me on this path to learn about eating a very potentially healthy way of eating and living my life so that I can be, disease-free, not be on any kind of medications and not have any kind of weird arthritic pains or all these different drugs like my brother's on for, high blood pressure and high cholesterol and all these things these days. So yeah, that's been my primary motivation. I want you guys to think about what's the motivation of the person that you follow. Anyways, we'll be talking more about that in a little bit. So the other thing to remember is that the raw vegan diet is a diet, and more correctly, it's actually called a plant-based raw food diet, because technically, if you want to talk about what vegan is, we're going to throw up the definition right there. Vegan is a philosophy, a way of living to avoid exploiting animals. I mean, for the most part, to as much as practicable and possible. And so let's not get confused with, what veganism is versus a plant-based raw diet, which, definitely limits the foods that you can eat. Now, in my opinion, a raw vegan diet can be done quite healthfully, and it could be quite done unhealthfully, much like you could eat a standard vegan diet, right? If you're vegan, you're just eating for the animals. You could eat vegan junk food and still get heart disease and die and get diabetes and all these things. Just because you're, eating vegan foods doesn't mean you're gonna, be immune to different diseases. That being said, if you're eating a whole food, vegan diet or plant-based diet, right, you could be a lot healthier. Much like there's many different variations and formats of a raw vegan diet. You could be a sproutarian, you could be a fruitarian, you could be a, high-fat gourmet raw vegan, you could be an 8-1-1, 80-10-10 raw vegan, you could eat a high fruit diet, you could do a raw till 4. There's so many different variants of that, and some of these variants are definitely healthier than others in my personal opinion. And we'll be discussing this in a little bit. But I think the challenge is, besides just the diet, because the diet is simply, what are you eating, right? The challenge is what is the other information that comes along with the diet. So it's the teachings or beliefs that come with the diet that can cause your ultimate demise or success, in my personal opinion. Now, this is the gold nugget of this whiteboard episode, and in my opinion, this is what could cause your demise the most if you're eating a raw food, plant-based diet. The number one thing that could cause us trouble is, number one, the mindset or the teaching or belief of this whole purity thing, right? When I think purity, I think angels in white robes, or something like that. But there's some raw food teachers out there that, teach this whole purity mindset. If you eat one morsel of cooked food, you're toxic, you're bad, and now you need to go and re-cleanse. It's like I've committed a sin and now I need to repent, right? And if this is the kind of teachings that you're being taught in your raw vegan diet, I would encourage you to look for a different teacher, because that, in my opinion, is a primary reason for why people fail, is this whole purity mindset and thinking like, oh, I got to go on this juice cleanse, this excessive juice cleanse to cleanse out because I'm toxic, right? This sets your brain up to start categorizing things as toxic and bad, or, clean and good. This sends you down a road, a one-way road that is hard to do a U-turn on and, get back to eating a more balanced and healthy way of living. So an overly focus on purification and even detoxification, I believe, causes a lot of problems, because then people just want to get more pure, more clean, right? It's just kind of somebody like on an eating disorder, which two of my ex-girlfriends who are actually no longer on the planet, unfortunately, because they had passed on for various reasons. One, because of an eating disorder. So I take this seriously. Also have a belief like, oh, I'm never skinny enough, right? And then people like on a raw vegan diet could be, I'm never pure enough, I'm never clean enough. I need to eat fruit that I own and it falls in my hand, and if I eat whole fruit that's ripe as possible, then I'm going to be clean. But if I have something conventional from the grocery store, I'm toxic and I'm bad, right? This is how you will set yourself up to an unhealthy eating pattern. Maybe call it orthorexic if you want to put a label on it. I have a whole mixed feelings on the term orthorexic, because, at some point, what is the differentiation mark between actually having a healthy outlook on eating healthy food versus having a, non-healthy outlook on food? That's a good question. But nonetheless, I believe the whole purity mindset, the over-focus of detoxification on a raw vegan diet can set yourself up for failure. So now I'm going to share the 3 ways I saw people lose their life while eating a raw vegan diet. I've been in this diet for 28 years now, and I've been around the block. I've heard a lot of, rumors and talks, and I've known people that have actually lost their life while eating a raw vegan diet. A raw vegan diet doesn't make you immune to all different diseases. And if you're listening to influencers that tell you guys, if you eat raw vegan, you're going to be an angel, your brain's going to be clear, you're going to see the light, you're going to do all these crazy things, right? And they're telling you these absolute statements, right? I would encourage you guys to unfollow them right now, because they are lying to you. There's a lot of, I think, marketing shams and shysters and grifters in the raw vegan movement that you maybe have their best interest at heart, maybe because they're a narcissist or for whatever other reason. I'm not exactly sure. But what I'm going to show you guys now is how I have seen people lose their lives while on a raw vegan diet. Okay. The number one way that I've seen people lose their lives, including Dr. Robert Lockhart, which I actually interviewed and met down below, he was actually dry fasting, and I've known other people that were trying to dry fast. And this is something, when I got into raw foods, there was no such thing, or we were not educated or taught about dry fasting. It's this new school of raw veganism. It's a new thing in raw foodism, where, some raw food teachers also teach about this whole dry fasting thing, which I think is quite dangerous, and you should not do it. Like, it's just I don't think it's safe, and you are risking your life and significantly increasing the chance you will lose your life if you do dry fasting. Don't do it. Number 2 way I saw people lose their life on a raw vegan diet, because another one of the teachings that come with the diet is that you have to do this water fasting. Now, don't get me wrong, water fasting can be great. It can be quite helpful. I sent my dad to True North Health Center in Santa Rosa, California, and he water fasted for 30 days under medical supervision, not only medical doctors, but chiropractic doctors, at the same time with a full facility that does regular blood tests to make sure that the fast is being done properly. So I don't want you guys to poo-poo all water fasting. Water fasting is bad, and that's a whole nother issue we'll be discussing in a little bit, this right, wrong, good, bad approach, right? I sent my dad to water fast, and, he was having a problem with his parathyroid hormone, and water fasting was the only thing that helped him to get that down, and he was put on experimental drugs, which the drugs could not do, but water fasting was able to help his situation. And water fasting has helped so many situations, as proven by published science, when done appropriately and medically supervised. The challenge is that I have seen people lose their life when they do non-medically supervised water fasting. Whether they go to a place in Maryland or a place in Costa Rica, that has well-meaning people that are not medically trained, and then they water fast people, and they may say things like, you got to go further, you got to go 40 days, because 40 days is the magic number where you're going to get clean and all your problems are going to go away, or, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those kinds of water fasting places. I would never recommend anybody, including my viewers, to go to any place that is non-medically supervised. They have medically supervised places, over in Germany, and also, True North Health Center with Dr. Goldhammer in Santa Rosa, California. So if you do want to do a water fast, hey, great, check yourself into a medically supervised water fasting facility, not just this random place in Costa Rica or other place, that does not have a medical doctor on staff and does not monitor your blood levels. Because, people can have their own thoughts about what is healthy, but your blood markers and many other things will tell you if you should continue to fast or stop the fast, if you have people that are well educated. So yeah, I don't want you guys to lose your life doing a non-medically supervised water fast. So the third way I've seen raw foodists lose their lives are by infections, either bacterial, parasite, or virus. So the easiest example is, in Hawaii, they have a disease called rat lung disease. And the rat lung disease is spread by snails, which basically crawls across rat feces, which then gets this parasite on it, and then it spreads it to the leafy green. So if you eat a leafy green with a slug that has been affected with rat lung disease, then you're going to have this disease and lose your life. It has happened. So maybe you could say that's contaminated food, but then on the other hand, I have known several raw foodists that have actually been hospitalized for something like pneumonia or other diseases, right? And then while in the hospital, they pass on, despite the best medical treatment. So to me, this is not entirely preventable. I mean, eating uncontaminated food is, so make sure you wash your produce. If you have rat lung disease, don't eat any snails, and even if you have the snail slime, you should definitely wash that off as well. So you want to eat, food that is non-contaminated. But some science also shows that some of this can also be prevented, by having a stronger immune system. If your immune system is weak because your diet is not optimally dialed in to strengthen your microbiome, for example, which is collectively known to be 70% of your immune system, then you may be more subjective to getting infections and succumbing to it, because you know what? The bacteria and fungus inside us, yes, there's beneficial fungus inside us besides candida, which candida may not be so bad depending if it's not overgrown. But nonetheless, we have bacteria and fungus and microbes, even archaea inside us that can make us stronger and make our immune system stronger. And not a lot of people even talk about this. I try to discuss this on my channel because it is, a primary of importance to me, because I come from a place where I have a, complement immune deficiency according to the doctors. So yeah, these are the 3 ways people have lost their life. Now, does this actually have to do with what you're eating? Well, in case number 1, no. In case number 2, no. Case number 3, yes. If you have some contaminated food, that can affect your ability to live. And also, too, depending on what you eat, you may have a stronger or weaker microbiome. So that's quite important to me. So yeah, so that's the basics. So now I want to get into my tips on the 10 things you should be doing so that you are not living more dangerously on a raw, foodist, plant-based diet, okay? So to avoid failing, do this. Number 1, and this is probably the most important thing, is I want you guys to select your teacher wisely, and more importantly, how you learn. Once again, I will say that there are some teachers out there that teach a more of a purity mindset. If you're going to be a specialist in detoxification or something like that, right? That may be that you're learning more about this purification mindset that restricts total categories of plant foods that you're not eating that then may weaken your microbiome, and then also set your brain up for ultimate failure because now you're trying to do this purity mindset. Some teachers on a raw vegan path basically have a very restrictive raw vegan diet. Some may say eat only fruit because if you're not eating only fruit, you're toxifying yourself up with cruciferous vegetables that are bad for you, right? So it's very important to select your teacher carefully and not just, oh, this guy sounds good, he sounds really captivating, so I'm going to listen to him, right? I mean, if you choose your teacher right, he could cause you to succeed, fail, or even lose your life, depending on if you listen to what he says and you do what he says and he's recommending dangerous practices. Also, regarding the teacher, is that I don't want you guys to guruize or idolize any one teacher, right? No one person knows it all. I mean, no one person is God unless you believe some people are reincarnated as God. I know some people on earth believe they are reincarnated as God, which is, I don't really know about that stuff. But what I will say is that I want you guys to have more than one teacher. That's the most important thing, right? If you have more than one person you're listening to and taking in their information, right, then you have at least 2 people that may be more balanced or may balance each other out, right? If teacher A is saying this thing, teacher B is saying the same thing, maybe that thing is probably accurate and then you might want to follow it. If teacher A is saying this thing, teacher B is talking strongly against that one thing, then maybe you might want to put some flags up and do more research, whatever that thing is being talked about, right? Unfortunately, in our society today, and this is a big problem in my opinion, probably one of the biggest problems, is that we are not taught to think in our society. We're taught to follow. So I want you guys to start using your most empowered supercomputer, that is your brain, which is more powerful than your iPhone until the AI gets better, because the AI could be quite dumb, actually. So use your brain to, determine things. Look up scientific published studies on your own. I mean, I do that all the time, and some things that some people say in the raw food community, right, don't basically align with the science out there. But then, some teachers in the raw food community say science is wrong, it's bad. I know better because I'm the guru. So, I don't know. I'd encourage you guys not to guruize anybody, and also to, of course, listen to yourself. Does it make sense to you? Are you following blindly this guru that's gonna, lead the rats over the hill because they're the Pied Piper? Choosing the right teachers, right? I want you guys also to educate yourself. I know you guys look to a lot of raw food influencers online, including me and other people, and, I can't vouch for everybody online. There's, some raw vegan people in the movement that are influencers that are making active videos that I like more, and some I like less, definitely, for sure. That being said, I want you guys to get a proper raw food education, right? There's many books written on raw foods, and definitely some are better than others, right? I'm going to recommend the Raw Food Education Handbook by Drs. Rick and Karen Dina, and also I will recommend rawfoodeducation.com. If you guys want to know the right way, the best way, the healthy way to do a raw vegan diet, sign up for the Raw Food Education course. It's a year-long course. They're going to basically teach you the ins and outs, and they're going to teach you the proper scientific backed science knowledge about living a healthy raw vegan diet, right? It's unfortunate that you have to pay for your education, but you're going to get the proper education the first time. And you look, if you go through Dr. Rick and Dr. Karen's course, right, you're not going to be doing some stupid crap like people do out in the raw food movement. My second tip to have ultimate success and to avoid failing is to have more diversity and less restriction. Unfortunately, a lot of raw vegan camps will promote this very restrictive diet, and they'll make it more and more restrict because it's more and more clean or whatever. You got to eat only fruit because fruit's the number one food on the planet. We're frugivores, all this kind of stuff, and it just is going to cause a lot of problems in the long run, right? Number one, it's been shown that hey, while fruit is healthy, and I'm not going to say don't eat fruit. I eat plenty of fruit. I've been eating a pound or two a day in smoothies and juices and just whole fruit. Like yesterday, I had cherries and plums actually, and then it's been stone fruit season, so I've been eating white nectarines, which are my favorite. Having grapes and watermelons and cantaloupes, all kinds of local fruits, which are amazing. But here's the thing, guys. I want you guys to eat a diversity of foods, right? Eat more than just fruit. Vegetables are quite important, even just on a fruit and vegetable diet, having proper balances of fruits to vegetables. And unfortunately, in the raw vegan movement, I see, unfortunately, too many fruits being objectified and idolized as this God thing. We've got to get in the most amount of fruits. But I personally believe, as a few other raw vegans out there, people should eat more vegetables, right? And yes, leafy green vegetables are important. Other kinds of vegetables, including tubers. I just drew some artichokes and jicama, yocone, quite important. Turmeric and ginger, quite important, right? I want you guys to unlock your diet and don't get so restrictive. The more restrictive you are, the more challenging it's going to be to live healthfully for a long period of time. I've seen people go very restrictive, and then something happens inevitably. Usually their microbiome gets jacked up from maybe over fasting and being quite restrictive, maybe only eating fruit. Their microbiome gets jacked up. They get a overgrowth of bad bacteria, including SIBO or something else, and then they got to get part of their colon removed, for example, in my opinion. So I don't want you guys to restrict your diet. I want you guys to unrestrict your diet. And of course, I got to put a plug in, right? If you guys want to unrestrict your raw vegan diet, that's exactly what my channel talks about, because I want people to succeed, right? I talk about even eating some percentage, a small percentage, 0 to 20% of heat processed foods. Link down below to that. I have videos on how to start eating resistant starch, which is uncommonly eaten on a raw vegan diet. Link down below to that. I have countless videos on how to unrestrict your raw vegan diet. Link down below to another video I have, unrestricted raw vegan diet, right? And so this is one of my primary focuses, because I see it's a primary reason why people fail if they want to eat a raw food, plant-based diet. Number 3, I want you guys to remember that our body has been designed to detox, right? We don't need to go on a 40-day juice fast to, start off our raw vegan diet, to go on this detox, to get our colon clean. That's another thing that people say, like, we got all this mucoid plaque in our colon, we got to get it clean. And if you eat one morsel of cooked food, your plaque is going to come back. I should make that a song. Your plaque is going to come back. So, here's the thing, guys. Our bodies are designed to detoxify. Hey, we're living in the modern world. We're, breathing car fumes. We're eating all these things, and our bodies over time will detox. Yes, if you want to mobilize detoxification the most effective way possible, then I'm going to recommend going to a medically supervised water fasting facility. That's going to mobilize and get more toxins out. That being said, in most cases, that's not necessary. How many plant-based doctors will tell you you need to go on a 40-day juice fast before you start eating plant-based? Right? Zero. I don't know anybody that any plant-based doctors tell you just start eating the plants, man. But why do some raw vegan teachers tell you you gotta go on a 40-day juice fast to start the raw vegan diet? Oh, because the raw vegan diet special is gonna make you godly, and unless you don't cleanse, you're not gonna be godly. Man, don't believe the crap, guys. Don't believe the crap. If you guys want to start eating more raw vegan foods, and you don't even have to eat 100% raw vegan foods or raw plant foods, right? Or fruits and vegetables, let's just say that. Just start doing it. Man, eat a meal of fruit, man. Get a good juicer. I sell juicers, I'll tell you guys that. That's what I do for my primary income. Buy a good juicer and start drinking vegetable, and I don't recommend necessarily fruit juices. Link down below for my video on do this to make fruit juices even healthier, which I know some raw food camps are not going to agree with me on that. But once again, I am here for your long-term success. I've seen over the last 28 years what works and what doesn't work. And I give you guys a more moderate approach that will work in the long run versus, a short-term gain for a long-term failure. Number 4, I want you guys to get away from doing this. I want you guys to avoid labeling foods good and bad. This sets you up for a potential, disordered eating style, labeling foods good or bad, making things right, making things wrong. That's not a good way to live, in my personal opinion, and I don't recommend you guys doing it. Back in the day when I got into raw foods, the book said, cooked food is poison, basically making in my head and cementing it in my head that all cooked food is bad. And it took me many years to reconcile that and get out of that. So one of my recent videos linked down below to that is that not all cooked foods are created equal. Much like not all foods are created equal. There are some foods that are definitely more valuable than others, and to put something either as good or bad, if it's raw, it's good, if it's cooked, it's bad, or to say, hey, if it's fruit, it's good, or if it's vegetables, it's bad, or to say lettuce is good, but then, kale is bad, right? I don't want you guys to do that. So how I want you guys to think is I want you guys to think in shades of gray, like it's not always good or bad, right or wrong, right? But it's shades of gray. There's a continuum. That's a thing I like to use a lot in my teachings, is a continuum, right? On one side of the continuum, fried foods, fried animal foods shown to cause cancer and all this kind of stuff, heart disease, right? Definitely are on the worst side of the continuum. On the best side of the continuum, maybe some leafy green juice or maybe some fresh fruits, right? But all the way on that continuum, there's different gradients, maybe like steamed vegetables from my garden, or maybe somewhere towards the healthier side, maybe not as healthy as green juice, for example, but it's more on the healthy side versus, fried tempura chips, which I used to love as a kid, that are vegetables. So I want you guys to think in gradients, and if you don't want to think in all these gradients because there's like a million gradients on a scale, shades of gray, for example. I want you guys to just classify things instead of just good and bad. At least have 3 categories, guys. 3 categories instead of 2. That being said, it's better to have a full spectrum and shades of gray. So the 3 categories might be, like a stoplight system. Red light, not good. Green light is good. Yellow light, caution, right? So you could put some foods in a caution and a lot of foods in caution. Don't put too many in red. And of course, there'll be a bunch in green. But at least this way, you're classifying things into, maybe yellow foods you'll eat rarely, red foods you'll avoid, and green foods you will eat all the time. But we need to get away from this 2-party system of good and bad, right and wrong. It's causing lots of grifts in our society and unhealthfulness in the raw food community. Number 5, as I'm sitting here and I'm feeling that I'm actually thirsty, I already drank like 2 liters of water this morning, is I want you guys to stay hydrated, right? And don't think water is bad. I know a lot of people in the raw food movement may say, I get all my hydration from fruits and vegetables, which is something I aspire to, and most days I actually do because I drink lots of juices. That being said, I'm not against water. Water is critically important. Some people would say, animals don't drink water, so we don't have to, or humans don't drink water. We're not designed to drink water. We're not lappers. You guys could have your own beliefs, But the fact of the matter is we need to stay hydrated, and especially in some of the heat that we've been having on the planet lately, you got to stay hydrated one way or another. And if you got to drink some water, so, dehydration could cause many problems. I read a book, The Body's Many Cries for Water, really like a long time ago. And it really just said by being dehydrated, you may have more health challenges, basically. So you got to stay hydrated. As much as I try to get as much of my water from fruits and vegetables as possible, I do also drink water. If I'm traveling somewhere and I don't have my fresh juices, I will drink a bottled water. I saw John at that hotel drinking the bottled water. Like, dude, man, I'm just staying hydrated, right? That's more important than staying unhydrated because I'm trying to drive fast because the water in the plastic bottle is toxic, right? Yes, I try to get water in glass bottles and whatnot, but I'll drink water in a plastic bottle if I'm dehydrated, right? You gotta stay hydrated. Super important. Don't forget it. So the sixth thing I'm gonna say that you want to avoid so you don't fail on a raw foods diet. Some camps in the raw foods movement are gonna not agree with me on that, and that's fine. We could have a nice discussion about this, but I'm gonna say I want you guys to avoid an all fruit diet. If you're eating only fruit and excluding all vegetables, right? I personally do not believe that's healthy or sustainable for the long run, and you are setting yourself up for failure, microbiome dysbiosis potentially, and lack of certain nutrients by just eating only fruit. This is still propagated today in 2023 that an all fruit diet is better than a fruit and vegetable diet, and I strongly disagree with that. And once again, on the flip side of an all fruit diet, I want you guys to eat enough vegetables. Vegetables are super critical on a raw vegan diet to balance out the fruit, right? We need fruits and vegetables. It's a fruit and vegetable dominated diet with small amounts of other foods, which actually are quite important as well. Number 7, and this is the reason why a lot of people may fail on a raw vegan diet, is because you don't eat enough food. I want to ensure that you guys eat enough food each and every day, right? If you're eating a hamburger, one hamburger could be, 1,000 calories, right? But if you eat 1 pound of leaves out of your garden, like for example, that's 100 calories, right? The density of processed foods and junk foods and American standardized foods are quite high, including even animal products, right? If you're eating leaves and fruit, those are some of the least caloric dense foods on the planet, so you need to eat larger volumes of them. I like to do that by juicing, so I could juice 4 pounds of vegetables and get basically 400 calories in a quart of juice. For the most part, approximately. You could eat a lot of fruit, right? But then also you could add in other foods as well. Add in some beans. You could soak and sprout certain beans. You could soak some wild rice and cause it to bloom and eat that. You could eat small amounts of nuts and seeds. You could eat some seaweed. You could eat maybe some mushrooms raw, or you can heat process them, right? But I want you guys to spread out your caloric needs with many different foods besides even just the fruits and the vegetables. How you know if you're eating enough, especially if you're new, it's hard to judge, right? And I see so many people under eating on our raw food diet. You want to put in what you eat every day to chronometer.com. It's a website that you could go to and you could put in, I ate 1 pound of oranges, I ate, 1 pound of spring mix, I ate, an ounce of nuts, I ate 8 ounces of sprouted lentils, I had, this much, seaweed or whatever else you're eating, and you'll get the full breakdown of not only how many calories you're eating to make sure you're eating enough, but more importantly, you're going to see how many different amino acids you got, how much different vitamins and minerals you got, and you could see where you're falling short, where your diet, however you put it together in your mind, is falling short on certain nutrients so that you don't fail in the long run. Number 8th tip that I'm going to recommend you guys do, which a standard medical doctor would recommend actually at least one of these things, but I find it difficult to believe that even some people in a raw food movement would tell you guys not to get a blood test because they're taking your blood, losing blood is bad, and they'll make up reasons on why you shouldn't give blood to get a blood test because they're taking 8 vials or whatever. My dad gave blood for many years to help people in need that had a loss of blood from accidents or whatever else, right? He's fine. So, Donating some blood could be great, but hey, giving some blood to get a blood test I think is even more valuable, because now it gives you an indication of your health and what you need to do to dial it in. And just to be blind and, be the monkey with the hands over the eyes or over the ears and not being able to use some of this diagnostic information, I think is ludicrous myself. But of course, you guys are going to do what you guys want to do. So me personally, I'm an advocate for blood testing. And if you don't go to a regular doctor who can order blood testing for you, I have a video for that. I don't know any other raw vegans that make videos on how to get your blood tested on your own without a medical doctor, because that actually was a predicament I was in. I got a link down below to the video where I showed you guys the best place, lowest cost place to get blood testing done without a doctor. Just fill up this form online, pay the money, and you'll get some requisition form to go into, Quest Diagnostic or LabCorp to get a blood test, and then get the results back so that you guys could see where you're at and dial in your diet. Maybe take a supplement if you are deficient in certain nutrients, which I have other videos on as well. Supplementation is important, in my opinion, on a plant-based or any diet in this day and age, but that's a whole topic for a whole nother video. Now, the other thing I'm going to recommend that not many people recommend these days is I want to recommend you guys get a microbiome test, right? You would think that after me living on a raw vegan diet, doing a raw vegan diet in a fairly healthy manner for the last, 20 plus years, I'd do a microbiome test and I'd see that my gut buddies is kicking butt, right? It's like perfect because I'm on a optimal diet for humans, which is a raw vegan diet, because that's how we ate when we were evolved on the planet, right? So when I got my microbiome test, it was not where I would like it to be. I have seen raw vegans that have a much better microbiome test than me, and I've also seen raw vegans that have a worse microbiome test than me. So I don't want to say that, raw vegan diet will guarantee your microbiome test is perfect. It really depends on many factors, including, what you're eating specifically on your raw vegan diet, the different kinds of stress and sleep and other environmental factors that can affect your microbiome. So for some of you guys that are just like eating a raw vegan diet for, for fun or for athletic performance, microbiome testing may not be important to you, but if you guys are doing a raw vegan diet for your health specifically, I would say get a microbiome test. A lot of people still don't know what the microbiome is or how important it is, but I'll put a link down below to my video how the microbiome can basically impact all your different body systems, in your life. And in addition, I'll put a link down below on my particular microbiome test where I share with you guys how you guys could get your own microbiome test, and then how you can basically download the data, upload it to a different website called BiomeSite that I was made aware of thanks to my video editor, and uploaded my data there for even a better in-depth analysis that they basically put in English, some of the recommendations that you might want to do and what the microbiome test can show you. The microbiome research and knowledge is still quite new, so I believe it is cutting edge and is the future of health. And unfortunately, many diet styles, including the raw vegan diet, has not taken the microbiome into consideration when choosing what foods to eat, which I think is quite sad. So yeah, if you get regular blood tests and microbiome tests to actually assess to see where you're at, to see if you can improve or not, that's up to you. Of course, some people don't want to get any tests because they don't believe in medicine. And, I would encourage you guys to avoid, raw food teachers that will tell you not to get these tests, because I believe they can only be helpful. Number 9th thing I want you guys to do to avoid failing is I want you guys to eat for you, right? And your microbiome, right? Most raw food diet teachers, for the most part, will basically, you're eating for you. You're eating raw vegan, you're eating plant-based, fruit and vegetable dominated diet, but unfortunately, they don't consider eating for the microbiome. When I saw my microbiome wasn't where I would like it to be, I'm like, wow, all these years I've been eating raw vegan, I've never considered how the food I'm eating will affect my microbiome. I've only been eating the food and knowing how it's going to affect me, because it's raw, it has enzymes, it has more phytonutrients, blah, 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 more water content, more structured water. So now I try to take into consideration, hey, how can I eat for my microbiome? So the very simple way is to do that is not rocket science. Number 1, you want to focus on eating prebiotic fibers and resistant starches. I got a link down below to resistant starches. You guys can learn more about that. The other thing you guys want to do is you guys want to eat fermented foods. On some raw food camps, they say fermented foods are bad or toxic. They're not good. They're rotten. I'm going to say fermented foods and probiotic rich foods are quite healthy according to the science, and I want to encourage you guys to eat a good percentage of probiotic or fermented foods on a regular basis. Recently, I'm fermenting some fungus, some Boulardii, Ceromyces boulardii, which is related to the same thing that makes the beer. So I'll probably have a video on that soon. So I can just have a probiotic shot drink. Actually, I made it in like 2 days. So in just 2 days, I can increase and drink this probiotic drink that has been said that if you drink this drink, right, you're not gonna get affected with some kind of stomach diseases or bacteria like cholera, for example, right? So you could have probiotic ferments that'll make your body more immune to different other bacteria, because now you have the good bacteria that fight off the bad bacteria inside your gut, right? If you're not taking maybe some probiotics and fermented foods and not eating the right foods to have these bacteria that fight off the bad guys, then you may be more susceptible to getting different kinds of infections, whether that is cholera or other different kinds of lung infections or, systemic, infections in your body. So the 10th and final thing is probably one of the most important, and, I'm going to reiterate this because it is so important, is I want you guys to think in gradients versus in black and white, right? If a raw food teacher teaches in absolutes, right, that is definitely a red flag. I want you guys to think in gradients in more areas of your life than just the raw food diet. I want you guys to think about gradients in all terms of life, right? It's so important to think in this whole shades of gray thing, because we are all taught as a child coming up through grade school, that's right, this is good, this is bad, and I think it is hurting society at large, and this is also something that many raw food teachers do, good, bad, right, wrong thing, right? That just messes our brains up and can lead you down to a path of failure. So I want you guys to think in gradients. It's so critical in this day and age to start thinking for ourselves and, coming up with these things. And the other thing is I want you guys to research things that some raw vegan gurus or teachers, that you follow say, and compare that with what other teachers say, right? Have more than one teacher. I mean, all these tips are so important to me so that you guys don't lose your life, because I don't want to see another headline that another raw vegan lost their life, which then the news media will blame on the diet, which is not exactly entirely correct, because there's a lot more to the story than what is covered in the media. But this goal is to help you guys so you guys don't lose your life. Once again, the top 3 reasons I've seen people lose their lives. And then finally, the other things to avoid failing and having poor health and being more in a health predicament is I want you guys to implement these things, these 10 things as well. Now, the final thing is I want you guys to leave a comment down below. What did this video teach you? What are you going to change now in your specific diet because you watched this video? That's why I make these videos, because I want to sincerely make a difference in the world, right? I don't have some kind of program where you got to sign up on a monthly basis and keep paying me money for my coaching or anything like that. I don't want to do that. Like, my goal is to put out all the information for free that I've learned, because I am just happy to be alive, to be given a second chance at life. So once again, check my videos down below, but I want to sincerely know, what are you guys going to change because of my video? Every comment I see, it's probably going to, give me a pat on the back, let me know that I'm doing a little bit of a good job to help you guys on your health journey and become healthier, more importantly, on your health journey, and hopefully trying to cut some of the BS and misinformation out there. Also, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. More importantly, that helps out the YouTube algorithm. Get this video out to more people, because unfortunately I believe my channel is underwatched, and more people should know about my channel so that more people can have a more balanced approach on a raw food diet. Also, be sure to share this video on different Facebook groups and different messaging forums to your friends and family that are maybe eating, raw vegan diet, that aren't doing it the healthiest way possible, that they could get more on track and learn from somebody who's been doing it a long time, my personal opinions and thoughts on how to do it in one of the healthiest ways possible. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new upcoming episodes that come in every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up, what you'll be learning, what I'll be teaching, what new whiteboard episode I'll be having, so that I could enrich your guys' lives and sharing the information I've learned over the last 28 years from my personal experience, as well as researching the science like basically every week to share with you guys the latest and greatest on how to build your health to the best level possible. Also, be sure to click the bell to get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 700 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to you guys all about how to eat a healthy, balanced, raw vegan diet so you succeed instead of fail. Links down below in the description to some of the videos that I have referenced previously in this episode for your viewing and entertainment pleasure. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.